Hey everybody, it is Tuesday and it's 2 o'clock, so that means it's time for Top 5 Tuesday. I'm your host from Crate Insider. I'm Kate Dillon. I definitely called myself Kate Insider is almost where I went with that. But I've got a really good show for you today. We've got some special things that we're going to be looking at, and we're really going to be talking about cooling because that's a topic that is is it really too punny to say that it's a hot topic? But it is. It's really an important topic this time of year. Funny enough, I was shooting a video just before this, and as part of that, when I was shooting that video, the air conditioner was being really loud, so I turned it off, and I realized that it was getting warmer and warmer in here about 30 seconds before I turned on the camera, and I just decided to keep the air conditioning off. So I am feeling the heat right along with you. Now, first of all, let's talk about what we're giving away this week. And if you've been here before and you know the drill, if you know what my sign said last week, you can drop that in as a comment and you will win. We'll just do a random number generator giveaway, and if you will win a container of our beef jerky. And then also, we also do a general giveaway. So if this is the first time you're here, just say hi, tell us where you're from, or if you have a question, drop it in, because we just look at all of the comments and then we just randomly pick a comment. So we use random number generator, and let's say there's 100 comments, and we just random number generator comes up 63. If you're the 63rd comment, then you win, and you'll also win a container of beef jerky. This is our Crate Insider Sweet Teriyaki Beef Jerky. It's got like a little bit of an orange flavor to it, and we do sell this on the website as well, and I can't remember how much it is, but I want to say it's like $8 a bag, and maybe there's a deal for more of them. I don't remember off the top of my head. I give away a lot of it. So love the beef jerky. It's actually really, really good. But I also wanted to introduce a couple of new products that we haven't had before. And so the first of these new products is going to be from our friends at Daytona One. And this is the Fender Flare Molding and Top Detailer. So for anyone has, like, especially if you have black plastic. Now, you could use this on your race car, but a lot of times it's used for passenger vehicles as well. So I use it on, like, there's a black section around my windows of like black plastic, and it works really, really well for shining that up. And so this Fender Flare Molding and Top Detailer, and I guess it could be used for tops too, is what it says right there. And oh gosh, and I don't know where my I'm trying to see where my picture is, but oh, there it's showing me. Okay, great. Facebook and how they change things is always a fun adventure, let me tell you. I just want to make sure, because a lot of times I look at the camera and I put stuff into the camera, but this is the Daytona One Fender Flare Molding and Top Detailer, and it runs $9.95 a can, and I've got this in stock now, so you can pick that up in our store. Next up is a product, I'm really excited about this one. It's one that we've tested with for a while, and we really wanted to see how it was going to work before putting it onto the store. Now we're incredibly satisfied with it, and in fact, I'm not just the one who's going to talk about it. Many of you know that Alex helps me, especially on Top 5 Tuesday. He was a special guest on our show on Unsealed on Sunday, so I'm going to have Alex come on over. And the product that we're talking about today is this is our flex bracing from AR Bodies. Now, flex bracing, this comes in, you can buy it in 30 feet sections or 50-foot sections. Actually, I think that was broken down into smaller pieces, wasn't it? Or was it just a roll?
Yeah, no, it's a few smaller pieces. I think they're 20-something feet in length. There's about 3 pieces. Something.
Yep. And what you're able to do, so when we call this flex bracing, let me show you why. Look at that. I mean, I'm gonna go ahead and pull the girl card here for a second. I mean, I probably bench press a good 60 pounds. That's.
No, the good thing is the shorter you get it, the stiffer it is too. So I mean, you try to bend it here, and it's tough stuff. I mean, like I said, I've ran it on my car for the past 2 seasons now, or late last season, and then all this season so far. And like any person would, I've had some scrub-ins with the wall, and this stuff, man, it just, I mean, you'll bend some sheet metal, but this bracing just pokes everything right back out, so you're not gonna have to risk getting a flat tire really. And I've been impressed with it so far. And I mean, if I need to change a piece, it just pop these 2 ends off, and then cut you a new one to the same size, and slap it right back on, and you're ready to go again. And I mean, I've had no problems out of this. This stuff's amazing.
So you bolt it on one end, you're bolting it to your chassis, and then the other end, are you bolting it to like your body bracing?
Yeah, correct.
Okay,
Correct.
so now you've also been using this in conjunction with our Hammond Motorsports body bracing.
Correct, yeah.
And have you know, I'll just say what's remarkable is it wasn't too long ago, a few weeks ago, and you had to replace an entire front clip.
Yeah, I did. Yeah,
But-
that's unfortunate.
Yeah, but did you have to replace any of your side pieces at all?
No, not at all. Everything was perfectly fine. I reused all the doors, quarter panels, and everything. The only thing I had to redo was just the nose piece itself.
And with that, I mean, and this is just a valid question. I wasn't there that night, but did you? Was it because of just the angle of where you hit, and like you didn't even hit the side, or were you banged around? And between the body brace, the flex bracing, and the body bracing, is that what kept your car intact?
Oh yeah, for sure. There was definitely some door damage and a little bit of quarter panel damage, but like I said before, it just everything was perfectly straight. I mean, the only thing we did was took the door off and straightened the sheet metal out a little bit, but I mean that was it. Everything was. I mean the body bracing's still straight, the flex bracing still held up. You know, nothing was broken, nothing was bent. Just a little bit of sheet metal damage. Nothing to be too concerned about. But you know, it was a quick, easy fix. You know, it didn't take me but about half the, not even half the day to do it, and I was ready to go again. So.
Well, and I think you replaced a lot more body panels last season when you weren't
Correct.
using these products. You were just using like your typical body bracing and your typical like those little metal strap things.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah, I went through a whole other right side. I mean, what I had happened to me the other week was a lot worse than what happened then. So I mean, the stuff really does its job, and like I said, I have absolutely no complaints about it. I wouldn't run anything else if it was my car.
Yeah.
I mean, it is mine, but I'm saying for you guys, like, I wouldn't run anything else besides this because it saved me a lot of time and definitely a lot of money as well. So. I mean,
Well, yeah, if you're not replacing sides. Now, this isn't you can get some metal strapping for some pretty cheap prices in comparison. The way it comes is you can buy a 30-foot section, and I want to see how many ends that comes with. So the 30-foot section comes with 30 of these little ends. So you have the ends and then you have the bracing. So that comes with 30 ends and 30 feet worth of the flex bracing, and that runs $299.50. Or $299.99. There we go. Oh, and I've got this right on the screen. I don't know why I'm trying to look at a little catalog. Or you can buy it now for your dirt late model. You went with the 50-foot, and you had some extra left over.
I still have a bunch left over.
Yeah, but more than 30 feet. You needed more than 30 feet.
Yeah, correct. I did, yeah.
And so the 50 feet package with 50 of these ends, so that would allow you 25 sections if that's really what you needed. That runs $395. But I think you've saved on sheet metal and you've saved on wrap. And all of the time that you've put into doing that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm really excited. I'm really glad to bring this product, especially as something that we've tested or you've tested.
Yeah.
Your dad always calls you a crash test dummy. I don't think that's fair, but
no.
in this case, it's true. It really is. It really is true. And a big shout out to Dave Hammond's body bracing set too.
Yeah,
That
sure.
stuff is like bulletproof.
Yeah, I actually did a video on my own stuff where I did a strength test on that, and I hung well over 260 something pounds of lead plus my weight on it, and the stuff barely bent, and then you tuck the weight off and it was completely straight. And I know Dave's done some tests with it too, where he's walked on it and bounced on it, and I mean, it's good stuff. He picked up his entire engine with it.
Yeah.
It's strong stuff, but it flexes, but it always goes right back to its shape.
Well, and you don't want anything that's too rigid because then you can run into breakage issues, that could have some carnage. So you want to have some a little bit of that give. So we're really happy with that product too.
Yeah.
All right, with that, we're going to jump into Top 5 Tuesday, and normally we drop links in while I'm talking about things, but I'm going to keep Alex on this side of the camera, and he's going to help me out with some of these, and we are going to talk about cooling for sure. So in our number 5 spot, it's not really a number 5 spot, but it's sort of a number 5 spot. Because it's not official, it's just I'm picking 5 products, or really it's 6. And a big question we get is always about radiators, and so what we always recommend is to go with a double pass radiator. That is going to be the best of both worlds as far as having the right amount of flow and keeping your car cool. The double pass radiator for a Crate engine is really the best way to go. One of the radiators we really like is the lightweight radiator from AFCO, and this is the 80185 NDP with the -U, and the U stands for universal. And the reason why is we're going to go, in order to add this on, this universal is going to have a threaded outlet. And one thing I've certainly heard of, and I've talked to Ben Baker from AFCO, and he mentioned that a lot of times if you try to put an AN fitting with a machined, with the machined fitting here, or whichever, you can end up with some twisting if you ever need to pull that out, and then people ruin radiators, and it's because of a fitting. Yep. So instead, what he recommends, and I've really been promoting that, is to go with the universal. You're going to spend just a couple more dollars to go with this, rather than doing like a -16 or a -20. You go with the universal, so it's threaded, and then you want to go with a threaded area here. So, and this is like a -20 with an O-ring, and then this will screw into this radiator, and then you'll be able to put your AN fitting over the top of this, and it's really going to save money in the long run if you were to run into that problem where the two mesh together. But the 80185 NDP-U, this is for a dirt late model. Otherwise, we have the 80184. These are both lightweight radiators because, of course, lightweight Crate. We want to go with lightweight. So the 80184 NDP-U would be the suggestion for a modified. And then if you've got a different size radiator that you need, just let me know. But usually those are the two that we sell the most of. And this fitting here happens to be an AFCO 873. And we've got a couple of other styles as well. So in case you already knew that you were going with a -16 or whatever, then any of those would work. So there's a whole little series there, and we keep all those in stock. Oh, and the radiator that we were just looking at runs $347.99, and this little fitting runs $31.99. All right, next up for our number 4 spot, and this is such a popular product. I'm really glad because it does help a lot. I don't know if it's really a cooling thing so much.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know if it's really a cooling thing, but it kind of fit with this whole theme today, is of course not only keeping your water system cool and your oil cool, we want to keep your air cool as well, and that's where we're going to recommend the cold air box from Dominator. And this is, now of course you could build your own cold air box, but if there is one thing that I hear about most from racers, the fabrication that they absolutely hate to do, it's cold air boxes and fan shrouds. So a little sneak peek on what else we're talking about. But with the cold air box from Dominator, it's plastic right here, and it comes with this gasket as well. So this gasket fits over the top of your air filter base, and you can use any variety of air filter bases. Of course, we love our flat air filter base, but you really could use it on any air filter base. Put that on there, then you put your cold air box on top of that. That keeps a seal there, and then you've got your air filter that goes in here. So then from there, just so that people don't get confused, I know sometimes people get confused and think that they have to cut out, this is like a 20-inch, I don't know, I don't think it's quite 20 inches, but it's big. So you don't want to cut this big of a hole out of your hood. Instead, you'll cut down the sides of the cold air box. And these are specifically designed for that. So a big suggestion on how you would do that is set this cold air box on top of your air filter base, and then you want to put your hood, bring your hood in from the side, instead of trying to go over the top, bring it in from the side and set a chalk line. Is that how you did it too?
No, that's exactly how we did it. We marked it on the hood, and then we made a chalk line out of it and just cut it with a pair of tin snips. And I mean, the stuff, it's hard stuff, but I mean, it cuts super easily. So there's no way you're gonna mess it up. We had one on my car for a while, and then we had to raise the motor up. So we ended up just putting a flat piece, because a flat piece worked, but we had this on our car, up until just a few weeks ago, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with this thing. Air means everything on these engines too. So
yeah, and if you guys have questions for Alex, go ahead and answer or ask them, because Alex is the guy behind the wheel on the dyno at Hendron Racing Engines during the week. So they actually have to specifically, I have to reserve Alex on Tuesdays. So like no, you cannot dyno on Tuesdays. I'm just telling you.
Yeah. Well.
But I know some racers have to cut this down to like almost nothing, or even just like a half an inch or an inch. That's nothing to be concerned about. But you are not going to end up using it. I'd be hard pressed to think anyone would use the entire thing.
I wouldn't think so. I mean, there may be some instances, but like on mine, like I said, we had about that much on the bottom of this thing. So I mean, you're not going to use a whole lot of it. There's going to be a lot of cutting and trimming, but it's just everybody's going to have a different particular fit. So I mean, not two are going to look alike, but yeah, definitely it's been a good success for our stuff so far.
Yeah, and it's flexible enough, so you can see that it's got a little bit of flex. So it's not a brittle plastic. It's not going to break up on you. Like if we tried to, if I tried to cut, I can't even, a lot of times I look around my office for something that's a good example, and there's no good example right now. Like, oh, here we go. Like if I tried to cut the plastic on this calculator, that would end badly. Just saying.
Yeah.
It would crack up and be in all kinds of little pieces and stuff. So yeah, you never know. My office has everything. All right. Before we move on to the 3, 2, and 1, I'm just going to say hi to some folks here because I see we got a bunch of people here. So I see Daryl here and Mike and Lucas and Scott. And he's asking how's my eye. I actually had cataract. I had surgery on one eye last week. I'm getting the other one done this week. It's doing really well. I mean, like I can read the screen, so that's really a lot of progress there. So I see another Mike. Lots of Mikes here today. Shane, Ryan, Logan, Michael, Tommy, Doug is here, Michael and Dave. And again, you guys have any questions, feel free to drop them in. I've got Jim and Carl and Tyler and Danny and Anthony. You got just a bunch of people here today. So, thank you so much for being here. We're going to move on. We've got, and the cold air box runs $69. We do keep these in stock. Next up in the number 3 spot is, I've got it right here, is from our friends at Maxima, and this is KoolAid. Now, I know there's lots of different coolants out there, water wetter, things like that. Anything we can do to keep that cool. And I'm just going to give you a little special hint too, is that we do believe and we promote using distilled water in your radiator. Lots of reasons for that. Number one is you know exactly what you're getting. You're getting pure H2O. Distilled water is made by boiling water and then the steam runs off, and that's means distilled water, and it gets out all the minerals. So like in our area, we've got a lot of minerals in our water, a lot. Yeah. I mean, you can see it in the sinks, in the showers, in the kitchen sinks, in the toilets. You can see it everywhere. We've got hard water or just minerals. I wouldn't even say I don't know that it's hard water, but it's a lot of minerals. No,
there's definitely a funk to it at times.
Oh, you're on a well too. And I'm in town. I have city water, but I'm just teasing you. But anyway, what can happen there though is when those minerals from any kind of water are going through your water system, you have different kinds of metals. So you might have aluminum in one area and steel in another, and then you end up with this like electrolysis. Yes, and it can create you can get buildup in sections, it creates scale in there. You don't want it. None of that is going to help you with your performance on the racetrack. So it's totally worth the, I don't know, is it like 50 cents at the dollar store for a gallon of distilled water? Yeah,
and I mean, you can have the most tricked out cooling system in the world, and you run into a problem like that, and that's gonna cause some issues.
Yeah. So the KoolAid comes in 2 ways. This is the concentrate, and the other one is the 64 ounce, which is ready mixed. Either way, I don't know why. I mean, you don't need to like mix this in a bucket before you dump it in the radiator. I don't even know why we have both of them. I think you could dump either one of them into the radiator.
Yeah.
It's like one of these containers or one of the 64 ounce that's already diluted. This one's going to be cheaper to ship. The 16 ounce concentrate. They're both the same price. They're $9.95. And I've definitely had a lot of customers do really well with this, and it allows your water to. I guess it just, create this, it like increases the surface area. It does lots of cool things that I can't remember off the top of my head, but it makes your water be cooler. That's the important part. And that's why it's called KoolAid. I'm afraid to say like, hey, KoolAid man, you're probably too old for,
No, I'm not too old.
Hey,
too young.
Yeah, you're too young for that, but you're not. Okay, it's always fun when we can be on the same page with jokes there, so that's good. All right, next up in the number 2 spot, Gosh, I know people hate making these, so
I hate making them too.
I know, and you're a fabricator too. But in the number 2 spot is our fan shroud from Dominator. And this is the one that's 22 by 19. This one's meant for a dirt late model. And we do have a street stock fan shroud version as well. I mean, it's a much deeper, and it's very effective either way. Now, I actually had a question the other day. I was on the phone with someone, Alex, and I'm sure you can help out here. But how close is your fan from your radiator? Some people are telling racers that their fan should be like half in and half out of the shroud.
Right.
And so in this case, this guy's fan is like 5 inches away from his radiator. And I said, I thought that was not a good idea.
No, not really. I think that's a little too far. The way we've got ours made, of course, I mean, we don't have one of these. We ended up fabricating our own. But ours is closer to the radiator than that, but it's about maybe 3/4 of the way through the shroud. And the distance from the fan to the actual shroud on either side is probably, less than half an inch.
Okay, so you've pretty much got the fan buried in the shroud.
Yeah,
and that's
correct.
That's really where I thought, because I thought if you're half in, half out, you're spilling a bunch of air off the sides and not directing it.
And we've taken weather stripping and stuff too, and ran it down the sides of our shroud as well, just to make sure that we're actually pulling 100% air through the radiator. So I mean, I'm on E85 as far as fuel goes and stuff, but my water temperature hasn't been over 190 degrees in a racing scenario. Never see it over 190.
And we're in North Carolina.
So yeah, I mean, but it is humid and everything too as well, which that plays a little bit of a factor as well. But no, like I said, our temperatures have been cool. I can look down at my gauge at the end of the straightaway or beginning of the straightaway and see that it's 190, not budging. I mean, I have absolutely no problems with it, and no, it's a great little piece that we've got going. So
yeah, and if you're someone who does not want to make your own fan shroud, the Dominator is a great way to go, because it's not that expensive. It's $49. I mean, it's probably almost that to ship it. Not really, but but I mean, I love Dominator in the fact that their products, he makes them for racers and without being ridiculous price points. And I know that this has saved people a lot of time and a lot of effort. Yeah. And the big thing is, we always recommend a shroud, because it's going to direct that air. It's going to keep it cooler. You can use less fan if you're trying to really adjust. But if you're just rolling with no fan shroud at all, there's so many issues that can happen from that, and the fan shroud prevents a lot of that.
Yeah, I've gotten down to where with our fan shroud now, I'm on a 2-blade 17-inch race fan.
Really?
So yeah, I run a 2-blade year round, and I run 190 degrees and without an issue.
Well, and the big thing about fan blades, because spoiler alert.
I bet you can't guess what's coming up next.
Guess what? No, and this is also it would have been our top 5 anyway, it's one of our most popular products this week, and it's going to be our 17-inch race fan. I've sold more 4-blades. What I love about the 4-blade is that if you go with 4 blades, or you buy a 4-blade, it means that you can then knock down to a 3-blade or 2-blade. But the last thing you want to do is to be in an environment where you would need more blade and then not have them. So this way. So here's the 4-blade version of the 17-inch fan. But I'm shocked, honestly. I mean, with your dirt lathe model, 604, that you're, even in these temperatures, you're running a 2-blade fan. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, no, we last year we had a different shroud on and everything, and but yeah, we were at a 17-inch 3-blade, and like I said, then we swapped fuels, did a whole bunch of other stuff, and then now it ended up to where we can run a 17-inch 2-blade, and we're actually thinking about going down farther than that. And
going to like a 15-inch?
Maybe trying a 15-inch.
Wow, because honestly, most of the dirt late models are running, most of my customers are running 19-inch fans on the late models, and the 17 or a 15 on the modifieds. But you've really got stuff dialed in. And for anybody who doesn't know, I mean, it's his car that does a lot of the testing for Hendren racing engines, which in turn, that knowledge comes on over here to Crate Insider. So
yeah, we've actually burn more of our motor down on the dyno than we have on the racetrack this year. So we've actually went through two 55-gallon drums of fuel just testing on the dyno. So so we're due for a motor rebuild here soon, which I think I know a guy, so I think we'll be all right.
But yeah, and you're the champion on the dyno, right? At this point.
Some of you, I mean, you guys probably would, but you wouldn't believe some of the stuff that comes in. I mean, it's craziness. But no, everyone that comes in, I do the dynoing on it and everything, and then me and my uncle are in there. We make all the adjustments, and yeah, I mean, it's a good deal. I think last week we had 6 or 7 of them. So I mean, people are coming in and they're wanting to get their stuff tuned in. So I mean.
Well, and it makes a difference because it's rather than being at the racetrack. And so this really goes, I mean, wherever you are in the country, of course we're in the South, but our information isn't just limited to the South. If you can find someone who has a chassis dyno in your area of the country, the reasons why we recommend that is that the last thing you want to do is go to the racetrack and be dinking around with your carburetor all night, or why isn't this starting, or why is it stumbling?
Yeah, and I mean, another thing too is if you take it to a chassis dyno, you don't just see what's going on with the motor. You can break down the entire car. You can see if there's anything wrong in the drivetrain, or any sort of thing like that. So definitely a chassis dyno is recommended. And I mean, we've had an engine dyno before, but we send out engines with the engine dyno. We're like, oh, everything's fine, engine ran great, and they take it out and they're like, why won't this thing run? It's not running. Something's wrong. And that way we can just bring the whole car in there, strap it down, make sure there's nothing wrong with the car, nothing electrical, because electrical pulses show up on the dyno too. So, I mean, we just basically can eliminate everything, and people have been really happy with, coming there and finding something before they go to the track,
Oh, absolutely, because you're really finding out how much power you have at the rear tires.
Correct.
It's because it doesn't even matter. I mean, you could have a 1,000 horsepower engine, but if your drive shaft is spinning and not connecting, and your wheels aren't moving, nobody cares. You're not going anywhere. That would just be an example. But I'm sure you find bind in chassis. You find like wiring is a huge one that you guys find where there's just not enough grounds. I mean, I don't know exactly what wiring issues, but I know you've corrected a lot of ignition issues, wiring issues, and some chassis issues, some suspension issues as well.
Yeah, definitely. We actually had a guy come in the other week that his input shaft on his transmission was stuck and wouldn't move.
Oh, wow.
So and he's like, I couldn't feel it on the racetrack. I'm like, yeah, you're not going to feel it on the racetrack. You bring the car into the dyno, you strap it up, you're rotating a 5,500-pound drum. Basically, everything that happens to your car on the track is going to magnify by like 10. So any little issue, it's a big issue on the dyno. So, I mean, that, like I said, it's just basically a big prevention system.
Yeah.
It keeps bad problems from actually happening,
And performance too. I mean, you can test, you want to just, it's not worth your time to test like every air filter base or every air filter that's ever existed, to man, especially if they've already done it. But maybe you've got 2 carburetors and you're like, okay,
which one's better?
Hey, which one's better? Or I want to set up this one for E85 and I want to set up this one for race gas because I'm running in 2 different series. I mean, there's just a lot you could do there where you could really get it. I think that would be a good example of something.
Oh yeah, absolutely. No, there's a bunch of things that people want to, bring to us and test back to back. Carburetor is definitely one of the main ones.
Yeah.
It's like I said, it's a very helpful tool, and if you have one local to you and you have any questions about it, I mean, definitely it's worth going up there and checking your stuff out. It really is. Yeah. I definitely recommend doing it.
I know it's made a difference for a lot of customers for sure. Let's see if we got any questions. Any questions you guys have, feel free to drop them in. Someone is asking, how many gallons is the KoolAid good for? And that is such a great question. In other words, I don't really know. Yeah. So let's see. It's 1 ounce per quart or 1 bottle for 3 to 4 gallons of cooling system fluid. So one of these for 3 to 4 gallons. How many gallons go into a radiator? I don't even know.
Just a few. Only a few, I think.
So, I mean, this is a dump a bottle in and fill up the radiator.
I mean, that's what we do. We just dump the bottle in and let it ride, so.
Gotcha. Jim's asking, what is the cost for a chassis dyno? Now, I know Jim is in Asheville, so he would be local to our area.
Right.
Go ahead.
Our chassis dyno is $140 an hour. But normally we're not going to go over an hour. I mean, if we do, we probably won't charge you the extra hour. But if you're a customer of ours, then your chassis dyno time is free. So
Yeah.
you can just, you can make an appointment, show up, and we'll dyno your stuff and send you on your way, and you won't have to pay anything. So.
Yep, and that's a great service for your customers, and that's if they buy a Hendren engine from you guys directly, or even if they buy a Hendren engine from me, then that
still
applies to. I know.